on Thursday nights. We bring you the best in political commentary from the right wing, conservative, libertarian perspectives coming together and bringing the best content on the internet. Be sure to tune in every week for your favorite shows. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi, this is Mary Chastain of Breitbart News, and you're listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers. Readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
Hi, this is Missy Bordius. Join me as I share my womanly bits on the Conservative Feminist Show, 11 p.m. on Fridays, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Welcome back to Sounds Right Radio with Jen and Scott. Thank you so much for listening to us today and our inaugural show on Reagan's birthday. Today we've got an amazing first guest. We're so honored to have Kira Davis on the show. Good morning, Kira.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Congratulations on your new show. I'm so proud of you guys.
Thank you. So for those of you who don't know Kira, which I would imagine are very few, she's been in the blogging and journalism sphere for quite a few years now. She has her own show on the mighty FTR Radio, The Dark Side with Kira Davis. She writes with me at IJ Review, and she recently guest hosted the Dana Show on The Blaze. So Kira, you're just amazingly flexible with all of your media that you've been doing.
Yes, I hear that the phones are already ringing off the hook.
I know, we're so popular.
For my presence on your show. I thank you so much, people, but let me just say a few words before you start flooding the phone lines.
Exactly.
No, thanks for having me. Thanks, Jen.
So, we were talking about some ridiculous things in California during the first part of the show. And one of the most ridiculous things that's happening now is all of this, the measles outbreak that's completely unnecessary. And you wrote about it a year ago when your child's school had a little bit of a measles outbreak. So why don't you just tell us some of your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this is a subject that really kind of gets, like, it burns my buns, honestly. Last year, I got a notice home from my daughter's school. And it said there was a measles outbreak in the school, check to see, are your shots updated? And I thought to myself, measles? What? Like, this is like smallpox. It's like an ancient disease. We've had our vaccinations, and I didn't understand, why. I thought everybody had their vaccinations, and that I knew that Jenny McCarthy had an anti-vax kind of movement going on, and there were a few people on the fringe, but I didn't realize how popular this movement was becoming until we got this measles notice. Now, since that time, I live in Orange County. I live in the suburbs of Orange County. So since that time, we've had 2 more measles outbreaks here in Orange County. And the CDC actually came out last year to investigate because they wanted to know why these outbreaks were happening in the same area. And my initial reaction was it's probably because of all of we live so close to the border. I mean, I think I'm about 50 miles from the border of Mexico. And so I originally thought, well, it's probably because of all these illegals coming up through the southern border, and they come from countries where they don't have, vaccination programs. Turns out what the CDC found out was that there were a limited number of those people, but that mainly the outbreaks could be traced to parents who don't vaccinate their children, who have a fear of vaccinations being harmful to their children. And Orange County has one of the highest rates of non-vaccinations in the United States. So I found that troubling. And now we're seeing another outbreak that originated again here in Orange County. And now it has traveled to other states. And it's really reignited this movement and this argument between pro-vaccination people and anti-vaccination people. And I would just like to go on record as saying that I'm really confused that this is even an argument. I feel that this is the same argument as saying, as somebody arguing that water is wet. I mean, the science of vaccinations is proven. Maybe some people have a problem with the carriers that we use for vaccinations, some of the chemicals that are in the carriers, but I don't understand people who think that vaccinations are ineffective.
Exactly. And even what's the most mind-boggling thing to me about this is the way that some political things kind of change and move about. Some of the more liberal people I saw an article on Mother Jones pro vaccination. I never thought that I would see something like that. And even some of my libertarian friends, they're not arguing for government mandated regulations of for vaccination, but they're saying, okay, fine, don't vaccinate your kids, but that means you can't be a part of society.
I think that my biggest problem with the anti-vaxxers is that, like, even from a libertarian standpoint, where it's like I can do whatever with my body or whatever I want to with my body or with my children's body, but the problem is that then their liberty then infringes upon mine of not getting measles.
Exactly.
Or my children. Now, of course, both my children have been vaccinated, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that we have the vaccines that we can keep our kids safe. But the thing that frustrates me the most is the people that are just rely upon the herd vaccinations of others based upon unfounded, uncollaborated, quote unquote, science that they believe that somehow these are linked to autism.
And this is my problem. That's exactly it, Scott. When I get in arguments with anti-vaxxers online and in real life, because there's a lot here in Orange County, one of the things that inevitably, every single time, every single one of them says, in the end, what does it matter? If your children are vaccinated, then they're safe. And, that why can't you just respect my decision to do what I think is right for my child? And in any other case, I would. But in this case, you're depending on my child to keep your child healthy. The very fact that you can say, well, as long as your child's healthy, and my child is healthy, I don't see what the problem is. But the problem is it's like welfare for diseases. You're depending on me doing the right thing so that your child doesn't get these diseases. The problem with that is when too many people do the wrong thing, which is denying your child the very luxurious opportunity when compared to the rest of the world of being vaccinated against certain diseases. You deny your child that, you depend on me to do the right thing so that your child can have what they need, which is good health. And I know for a fact that a lot of these anti-vaxxers are not scientifically based, because the first thing they want to talk to you about is how, if I don't understand what the problem is. If your child is vaccinated, then you don't need to worry. If you've never heard of the term herd immunity, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I think that the problem that additionally frustrates me with that is the fact that they don't realize that the vaccine does not completely eliminate the possibility of you getting it. It significantly reduces it, but you still remain like a 5 to 7% chance that if you have a particular type of vaccine, you can still get. The same thing was with the flu vaccine you get every year.
Right.
How many people have gotten the flu vaccine and then later on gotten the flu? It doesn't completely eliminate it. And so therefore, great, my kids are vaccinated, but if your kid isn't and brings measles, which sometimes you can be a carrier and don't even know that you have it and you're bringing it to school, and my kid who is vaccinated still gets it, I'm going to be furious with you.
Yes, and let's not sugarcoat it. Measles is not a harmless disease. It doesn't matter, people, that's such a first world point of view. We just take it for granted that we just have good health. We don't realize that there are people all over the world who would and do, travel hundreds of miles on foot to make sure that their kids can have these vaccines. And Jen, you brought up a good point about how you're seeing a lot of bloggers and journalists, almost all of them across the board, actually, no matter what their political stripes, we're kind of all saying the same thing. You can go to Mother Jones, you can go to IJ Review, you can go, you can watch ABC News, and you'll see it. Slate has a lot of articles right now on the anti-vax movement, very well researched arguments about how it's a bogus movement. It stretches across political lines, but I will say this: what you will see is most of us in the journalism world are pro-vaccine, because when we write these articles, we have to do the research. And we do all the research. And when you do all the research, it's irrefutable. You've got a few studies on one side, and then you have a mountain of evidence and studies and redundant studies over and over again of how vaccines how they work, how they are not harmful, or harmful in a very, minute amount of cases, but no more so than, there's a certain portion of our population that are allergic to penicillin, but we don't outlaw penicillin. We know you need penicillin to take care of infections. So I think the anti-vax movement is full of uneducated people. And I hate to say that because some of my friends are anti-vaxxers, and that really upsets me. But the science is definitive on this. It truly is. And I am baffled.
No, I
am
agree.
baffled by this movement.
Yeah, I've written, it seems like just by luck of the draw at IJ Review, I've ended up kind of covering a lot of this vaccination stuff since probably last fall, because there was an article that came out in the Atlantic last fall saying about the rates of vaccination in different zip codes and how the more affluent they were, the lower the
Yes.
vaccination rate. So I started writing on it then. And you're right, the more research you do, and then I was doing the research on measles because really I hadn't ever researched it because I have my shots, my kids have shots, we don't travel to third world countries, so really wasn't on my radar. And when I read about how many people die daily worldwide from measles and just how deadly it is, I mean, it's not a death sentence like an Ebola kind of thing, but it still has a lot of complications, even if you don't die from it. And just the thought that anyone could want to just take a gamble with that. And people in the third world countries, you're saying they'll walk for miles. And there's a lot of charities here in the United States in these affluent areas that raise money for vaccinations. I have a really good friend, Chrysula Winiger. She works with the Shot at Life Foundation. And all that she's always on social media trying to drum up support for that, for how many, your donation can provide so many kids in Africa with their vaccinations. But yet here, we won't even go to the health department. It's like these people in Beverly Hills, their vaccination rate, I think I saw the other day, was 73% or something like that. In Compton, which is a super disadvantaged neighborhood, is like 95%. It's like these people they're listening to their yoga guru talk about a juice cleanse, and that's where they get their health information.
I have not met a doctor who has said, "Oh, it's best not to vaccinate your kid." Now, there are around here in Orange County, there are some what they call holistic doctors, which are, people who they might have medical degrees, but they've moved away from the medical community, and they might say things about vaccines, but mostly every doctor here in Orange County, doctors are starting to turn away patients who don't vaccinate. It's just that it's getting that dangerous. We've seen a whooping cough resurgence here in Orange County. Now, that is a scary disease.
Yes.
And that's not something you want to see a resurgence of in a first world country, and yet it's back.
It's like, you want to do that, then you go ahead and you move on out to North Dakota and you all go on your commune together and stay away from the rest of us.
Right.
and all die of infectious diseases. I mean,
exactly.
Let's just face it, that it would be like The Walking Dead, where one person would die and everyone would be infected within minutes. But anyway, we're now about 30 seconds out from our next break. I wanted to thank Kira and say, hey, would you stick around through the break with us and talk to us a little bit more about maybe Bri-Y and a few other things in the media right now?
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to talking more about that. This is the Sounds Right Show here on Vigilant Liberty Radio with Jen and Scott.